Right, Infernal Blessings. We are back with another video. Before I begin, just a couple quick announcements. So we are day out from the 6th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference as the recording of this video on the 18th of October. The conference officially kicks off on Friday, meet and greet tomorrow night. So technically we're right in that day or two window cusp. But if you're still interested in signing up for the 6th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference, shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com. You can attend in person. The event's being held at Cultural Expressions in Hollywood, Florida, which is minutes from the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport, minutes from Airbnb, hotels, restaurants, minutes from the beach, shopping. Everything is very convenient. And that's why we kind of set it up like that. Friday and Saturday from 9 to 4, there'll be classes, workshops, presentations, ritual work, group ritual work in the evening on both nights, Friday and Saturday, in addition to the 9 to 4 schedule. And then Sunday, I'll be doing a question and answer class from noon to 4 p.m. To close out the event on anything you want to talk about in reference to the occult, left-hand path, or what transpired over the weekend with the 6th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference. So you're down to your last day or two window. If you want to sign up, reach out and I'll send you that information. Also, if you're interested in a spiritual reading or a consultation, I offer various different readings, Klipothic demonic readings, Santa Muerte readings, Egyptian oracle readings, deity readings, shadow work readings. Shoot me an email and I will send you information on how to book a spiritual reading or a consultation. Also, if you're interested in signing up for classes, the way to sign up for classes, the way to take the classes that I offer, and I offer a variety of different classes. I have a bunch of ongoing series classes right now on the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page at patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. That's patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. Tier 3 is the tier you want to join. That will give you access to the 3 private classes that I do every month on Patreon, in addition to the group ritual we do together at the end of the month. And keep in mind, when you join, it gives you access not only from the day forward, the day you join moving forward, it also gives you access to all of the classes in the archive. We have a large amount of content. And as I said on the Patreon page, I'll go in a little more in depth. It's a little more personalized. The classes also include ritual work, exercises, showing you how to apply the techniques. So it's a bit different. It's very more personalized. It's for that individual that really wants to take their path of self-mastery to that next level. All right, so that's patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, tier 3. That's the tier you want to join to get in on all the different classes that I offer. All right. Also, keep in mind all this new content is being uploaded to the Primordial Chaos podcast, which can be found on Spotify and all major podcast platforms. The direct link to the podcast, my contact email address, the link to the social media pages, Primordial Chaos 9 on Instagram, Primordial Chaos, 2 words, on Facebook. Also, the direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes. All of those links and information is in the description box of this video you are watching right now. All right. So let's talk about dark alchemy. It's what I call it when we use what they call in Hermeticism alchemy for personal transformation. Right? I say dark alchemy because I show people how you can use alchemy as a form of shadow work. All right. A book I would recommend also and throw out there to people, that's a very good book on how to do alchemical or alchemy work and how to work on what they call in alchemy the philosopher's stone, right? You are that stone or that jewel that's being working on to be perfected, right? It's like I've said before when I use the aspect of in the Masonic Lodge. When you walk into the lodge and you're looking to east and west, you see a rough ashlar and a smooth ashlar. You enter the lodge as a rough ashlar with a lot of imperfections, which means a lot of things you got to work on about yourself to get yourself to that self-perfected, smooth ashlar. These are all esoterical or occult metaphorical terms. All right, so a good book I would recommend is Dennis William Huck. You've heard me talk about this book many times over the years. First name Dennis, middle name William, and his last name is Huck, H-A-U-C-K. And he's got a book called Alchemy for Personal Transformation, the Emerald Tablets of Tahuti. Very long name. In that book, there's a lot of alchemy work, exercises, and rituals you can do, which really, in essence, when you look at it, it's working with the shadow self or the hidden self. It's really understanding yourself, your nature. And there's a thing in alchemy called making yourself less dense. Now, there's some key points I want to point out in that book, Alchemy for Personal Transformation. Okay. When you're reading the Emerald Tablets and when you're reading, the story on who they call Hermes in Hermetic philosophy, there's in chapter 3 of the book, there's a conversation. Hermes is talking to the students in the temple, right? And he's breaking down to them. They're asking a lot of questions that is always doubting things when you read the entire chapter. But he says something in there when he says, by naming God, you create other gods. And that always stuck out to me because I said, this is how a lot of this shit spirals out of control. Because it shows the mortal weakness of men or human beings in general who have to put a title on something in order for them to grasp or understand it. But just think about that for a second. By naming God, this is what Hermes says in the Emerald Tablets, you create other gods. Meaning you're separating. When you're separating things, or you're separating the same thing, because he talks about something in there called the one thing, which I'm not going to get into here. But there's a lot of good things to understand the spiritual aspect of alchemy and how it connects to you and your spiritual journey. So I want to stay on topic with alchemy and how to work with alchemy for that personal transformation through your shadow work, uncovering the hidden self. So as I said, there's something in alchemy called making yourself less dense. And there's also something called the 7 operations of alchemy. And I've mentioned before over the years, and I show people in my mentorship program how to use the 7 operations of alchemy as a form of shadow work. But what I want to focus on is what are these things that make us more dense, right? We know the more dense something is, the heavier it becomes. So once we identify what they call the calcination process, which is the first operation of alchemy, what's creating calcification in all aspects of our life, okay? And it's the obvious. It's what's creating the stress, what's creating the issues, the obstacles. It's personal problems, relationship/marriage problems, money problems. It could be health issues you're dealing with. Anything of a nature that makes you more dense, weighs you down. What it does is it slows down your vibrational frequency, and it creates high levels of calcification, especially for the pineal. And the pineal gland is like that conductor, that connector, that antenna that reaches out, and I'm just using terms to grasp, to receive those spiritual messages and communication. And when that antenna is not up and not functioning and not working, due to that calcification, you can't receive those spiritual messages, right? The third eye is not open and receptive, and it can cause all types of issue. And it also, there's a saying when you read in the New Testament where Jesus says, when the eye becomes full of light, the body becomes one. Right? He's talking about the third eye, or the brow chakra, or the pineal gland, right? So once that third eye is activated, it opens you up to so many different connections to, I'm just, again, simplistic terms, the spirit world. All right? But when that vibrational frequency is not activated at its correct, power or function, it can't receive those messages. Okay? So one has to make themselves less dense to speed up that vibrational frequency and connect with that spiritual power. So this is why, whether it's shadow work, whether it's getting your life, and this is why I keep trying to tell people, don't negate the importance for having harmony in your physical, mundane life. Okay? Because it's going to be super, super hard, okay? Super hard for you to be focused on your spiritual life when you're dealing with all types of financial issues, personal problems. These are things that are going to weigh you down, so you can't connect like you need to connect. You can't make that alchemical transformation on a spiritual level for growth and change because you're dealing with too much fucking chaos in your everyday life. And we can't negate that, okay? There's no getting around it. There's no trying to act as if this is not critical or important, because it is. Okay? As I said before, not all your problems, but one thing that can cure 95% or more of life's problems is a good, steady income. Because when your mundane life is in order and you're not stressing about the things we worry about all the time, and, to a degree, rightfully so, putting food on the table, paying your mortgage, your car notes, surviving. See, they know, when I say they know, the powers that be that want to stay in control the masses and get you to jump when they say jump and all that good shit. When I say the powers that be, they know if they can keep you distracted and dependent on everything that they promote, then they know they can control you and they got you. Okay? This is what they do. Okay? They know this. All right? So by them doing that, when you're stressing over all of these everyday worldly life things, okay, they know that this is going to keep you, or keep your paths obstructed where you can't grow, which this all ties into things that most definitely weigh you down. Okay? And one thing that's going to make you less dense, using the alchemical term, is doing your shadow work. Because shadow work is going to bring out in you, okay, the good and the bad, as you've heard me say many times before over the years. It's going to bring to the surface those things about yourself that maybe you're not addressing that need to be addressed. These things that are causing these issues, okay? Things that maybe, we bury or we just put aside, and we think by not paying it any attention or ignoring it, that's just going to go away magically by itself. Okay, so your mundane life is step one into getting yourself in order. See, the problem is people want to go straight to Spookyville. People want to be a swami and a guru and a spiritual master. They want to levitate, be healers, be this, that, and the other, but they don't got... These are the same motherfuckers that can't pay their bills. These are the same motherfuckers that, ain't got nothing going on productively in their life. And this is why they're constantly in problematic situations, but they're so deep and they're so spiritual. They want to go immediately to all this high spiritual work, and there's a serious imbalance there, okay? A serious imbalance, okay? They're not focused on getting their everyday life in order. Look, and again, it's not to be judgmental. You can't be living in mom's basement, okay? And, you are a spiritual ascended man. you are a spiritual ascended master. Okay? If you can't reach into your pocket for a few dollars to buy a hot sandwich, don't sit there and give people advice, on what they should or should not be doing with themselves. Like one of the principles we live by on this path, you should be a living example of the knowledge that you study or that you're trying to teach others about. If you're not a living example of that knowledge, then you need to check yourself. Okay? This is why, like I've said before, nowadays with the internet, social media, and all these platforms, there's a lot of bullshit out here. So people can hide behind, say, a keyboard, a social media platform, and create the illusion that they got their shit together. So you need to be conscious and you need to be aware of that to make sure you don't fall into those traps. Stay grounded and harmonize between your subjective and objective consciousness, or the physical and the spiritual world. Because as I've said before, some people like to go to Spookyville right out the gate. Right? And as I said before, the foundational pillars that I always suggest people that they should start with is shadow work, ancestral veneration, and demonic integration work. Look at that as your 3 foundational pillars when you're laying your path to self-mastery out. Okay? If you get those things functioning and working, I will promise you, you will see consistent growth and change on your path to self-mastery. Like I've said, people come on the path and they just go jump into either hardcore dark sorcery and witchcraft, or necromancy, or vampire magic, or working with the clip pop, and that's not the right approach. Not when you haven't done work on the self. Because remember the core things of sound mind, sound body. So let's just say you are dealing with psychological and mental issues. Wouldn't be good for me to throw you, say, in clipothic work or, say, necromancy. That would be doing you more damage than it would good. And then I'd be putting laying more things upon you that are going to make you more dense. Okay? And if we're trying to get the pineal activated, the crown chakra open, so we can connect with these higher spiritual vibrational frequencies and energy, we're not going to be able to do that when things here on the physical realm, the material plane, we don't even have in order. So it's like you can't go from point A to Z and not go to all the points in between. I know people like to think they can, and I know people do it. And I know there's probably somebody listening and watching, well, I did. But I guarantee you, over a long period of time, you're not going to have consistent success. Okay? You're just not going to have it. So one thing that each individual, well, one of many things that each individual must do when they're on this path is do a serious self-analyzation of themselves. Right? I've always said, be critical of yourself in the sense it keeps you sharp. But don't overdo it, because what can happen, I also see sometimes people beat themselves up for their failures. Okay? Critique it, even if you failed. Be honest about that critique, but then focus your energy on moving forward and correcting it. Some people just beat themselves up with failure. Okay? And part of aligning your vibrational frequency is changing the polarity. A lot of us are in alignment with a negative polarity because it's the natural thing they put out here in the ethers, right? It's the vibrational frequency that they put out here in general, and it's done intentionally to keep you as what they call a low vibrational frequency being. Because when you're vibrating at such low frequencies, again, it disconnects you further and further from what they call the spirit realm, okay? Or the spiritual abodes, or the spirit planes, or the astral plane, whatever term floats your boat. I'm just using simplistic terms in these short tutorials so people can grasp what I'm saying. So, in order for one to make themselves less dense and make that alchemical transformation, they must work from within out. And as they start to proceed out, that outward part starts with their mundane life and their immediate surroundings. Just check yourself. When I said do the analysis, do you go places you shouldn't be going? Are you hanging out with people and moving in circles that you know are not productive for you? Do you have bad habits, character flaws, and personality traits that you need to work on? I mean, I'm just throwing some things out there. Once those things are addressed and moving in the right direction, you start to see the change. Okay? People act as if those things are not important. They just bypass that, skip it, and they think they're just going to go into, again, Spookyville. And it doesn't work like that, people. Trust me when I tell you. It does not work like that. There's a saying you always hear me say, you must do the work, do the work. We hear this all the time. Do the work, do the work, do the work, do. Because I say that because it is work. I don't want nobody to fool and deceive you and promote this path like it's a quick fix-all, because it's not. Don't be fooled. Don't believe a lot of this shit you see on the internet and in the movies and this, that, and the other. It's gonna jack your mind up. It's gonna confuse you even more. Don't do it. Wasting your time. Don't do it. It is work. Okay? So if we want to make ourselves less dense and speed up that vibrational frequency, it's time to get to work on all the things that I just described. Do that self-analyzation. Check yourself. See what you measure up to. And based on that self-analyzation, you'll see the changes you need to make. This is what we do in the shadow work classes. Right? This is what gets us moving in the right direction. Okay? So, next time you hear somebody, or so you run into somebody, because we all know them, they're everywhere, the wannabe heavies. Next time you run into somebody or that person is always trying to drop some knowledge on you, give you advice and suggesting what you should and should not do, well, gauge it by two things. Real simple. If that person is a living example of the information they're building, and you see success in that person, in their example, their lifestyle, how they carry themselves, take the advice, because they have something that they could offer you. Okay? That's the upside. But listen, if it's somebody you know is jacked up, ain't got their shit together, they just bummy as hell because they just lazy and they always got some type of hustle or some type of get quick rich or successful scheme, or they so deep and heavy, but and again, not to be judgmental, they driving a hoopty, living in their mom's basement, and the being heavy and how deep they claim to be doesn't equate to the example you're saying. Don't take that person's advice. It's that fucking simple. Okay? This is how you steer clear of bullshit and nonsense. It's that easy. Common sense. But as I've said many times before, common sense is something you cannot teach somebody. You either have it or you don't. And the crazy fucking part about that is, as time goes on, and I start running into more people over the years, I'm starting to realize a lot of people don't even have common sense. I really, it's bad. It's. I mean, you would think, oh well, a lot of simplistic common sense things we should know. I say the same thing, but the shit I see and hear people doing, it equates to no common sense. All right, so let's be smart. Let's make wise decisions, wise choices. Let's really look at ourselves and be honest. What it is we need to work on, improve, so we can make ourselves less dense and make that alchemical transformation. All right, that's going to do it for me. If you need to reach out to me in reference to the 6th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference, again, which gets underway in about a day and a half. We are right there on the cusp. Shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com, and I will get you that information. on how to register and sign up. If you need to reach out to me for a spiritual reading or a consultation, my contact email address, along with the direct link for the Primordial Chaos podcast, along with the information for the social media pages, Primordial Chaos 9 on Facebook, on Instagram, and Primordial Chaos, 2 words, on Facebook, and also the direct link to the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page, where you go to sign up for the different classes that I offer. All those links and information are found in the description box of this video that you are currently watching right now. All right, that's all I got for you on this video. We'll talk soon.